everybody, and welcome to another video. My name is Teresa and I have been solo and group traveling around the world since July 2023. I'm talking to you today from India, so please forgive any external noise that you might hear. It's difficult to find a very quiet spot in India. Today I wanted to talk about group travel versus solo travel, talking about the advantages and disadvantages of both, because actually I think there are advantages and disadvantages of both modes of travel. At the end of this video, I'll also be sharing a meditation that I wrote, which is around protecting your own energy when you're with other people. So, as well as talking about the practicalities of group and solo travel, I also just want to talk a little bit about that energetic aspect as well, because my channel was really about tuning in to being mindful. It's about being aware of our own energies, other people's energies, and how we skillfully navigate that so that we all can have the best time that we can in community and together. And this meditation is also an insight timer. I will put the link below. I will timestamp this video, so if you want to go straight to the meditation, you can do that as well. But first of all, I just wanted to talk about the practicalities of group versus solo travel. So particularly in my first 12 months of travel, I traveled quite a long way from the UK through Indian subcontinent, Southeast Asia, and then down to Australia and back through Asia to then finish back in London. And I did a mixture of travel. So I had quite some chunks of time on my own. I had chunks of time staying at yoga ashrams. I had time with friends. And then I booked a few group trips with various different companies. I think they're all pretty similar. People like, and I'm not affiliated to any of these at all, but they're just people I've traveled with. G Adventures, Intrepid, Explore, Exodus, travel companies like that. And actually, I had pretty good experiences with all of them, overall experiences, and I got to see some places that perhaps would have been more difficult to navigate on my own, or just, I just felt that it was more appropriate to perhaps go in a group, and I'll talk about why. So I want to talk about first about group travel. So I consider going on a group trip. So the trips that I did were with quite small groups. I think maximum 14 to 16 people, all ages. Some of them were very much mixed nationalities. Some of them were a bit more UK focused. So that's interesting because you obviously have the advantage of meeting different people, having company at dinner, people to talk to, which is nice, people to have fun with, to go and do. I remember in like Malaysia, we were in, where were we? Penang, in Georgetown, which is, I think it's Georgetown, beautiful UNESCO heritage site. And a couple of the ladies I were with were saying, should we go for afternoon tea at this very fancy 5-star restaurant? I wouldn't have done that on my own. I know I wouldn't have done that on my own because I would have thought, oh no, that's not for me. But actually, it was lovely and it reminded me of home. I'd been away a really long time. That was my last trip before I came back. I went to Borneo, Malaysia. So that's the advantage of being in a group, is that you can enjoy other people's company. You have the advantage of seeing, I mean, most of these trips are pretty fast. So you move around a lot. So you get to see a lot of things in a very short space of time. The guides, all the guides I've had have been fabulous, very professional. I felt very safe. There's the advantage of safety as well as a female solo traveler by going with a group. I felt looked after. The guides were knowledgeable. They can help you explore and really uncover the culture. You can ask questions about what it's actually like to live somewhere rather than just seeing what's shown on the surface of a place, which is very different than actually having those real conversations about, actually, I remember talking to the guides in Bhutan about this. Bhutan is, I guess they're promoting the country as like the happiest place in the world to live. Very much the guides were amazing and very cheerful people. And I just asked some difficult questions like, do you have homelessness? Do you have people that are addicted to drugs and alcohol in your country? Because I can't believe that you don't have that. And how do you manage that? So that's the advantage, I think, of having a local guide. That can be really interesting for somebody like me that's curious about people and about how other people live. You don't need to spend any time planning. Somebody does it all for you. You haven't got to work out how to get bus from here to here. You haven't got to work out how you're going to get to Airbnb. It's all done. It's relaxing, it's comfortable, all of those things. So there's lots of pluses around that. The disadvantages for me with group travel are, I think the first thing really is that you're on somebody else's schedule. So for me, I like to perhaps take quite a long time in places. I quite like to just be able to hang out in a coffee shop and just watch the world go by. I like to perhaps sit and meditate in a temple, whereas perhaps the rest of the group aren't so interested and you whiz in and out. It can be very hectic. I find the pacing of these trips very intense. Maybe they don't eat. I like to eat generally, and this is, I vary it, but I generally, if I can, try to eat my main meal in the middle of the day and be more Ayurvedic in the way that I live. And that's not how these group trips work. Often, maybe they're eating a lot later than I would want to eat, all of that kind of stuff. So you can't, you're on somebody else's schedule. You're not in charge. You can, though, go off piste. And I think this is just something to bear in mind if you are thinking about a group trip. As long as you're confident enough and you feel that you are okay with the group to do this. There was certainly a couple of instances where I was in group trips. I was in Chiang Mai, group were going out to some night market thing. I'd been in Asia, I'd been to lots of night markets. In fact, I did this in Malaysia as well. I didn't go out with the group. I, at that point, needed some alone time. I went for an early supper. I wanted to have a bowl of soup at 6. I didn't want to be sitting eating at 8 o'clock at night with people drinking. Nothing that there was anything wrong with that, but I just wasn't in the vibe for that. So I spoke to the guide and I said, do you mind if I do my own thing? I did that in Malaysia. A number of people went off up to the big tower thing, and again had drinks up there, and I just didn't really want to do that. And we had actually was staying in a really nice hotel with a pool that overlooked Kuala Lumpur, and I thought that would be a cool place to watch the sunset. So I went and did that instead. And so I think if you're confident enough in yourself not to worry about always being with the group, you can, and I think it's important to communicate. So you communicate with the guides as well, so they don't think they've done anything wrong. You just say, look, I need my own space. I want to do my own thing this time. In Dharamsala, for example, I was with a group. I had spent some time there on my own as well. They were going to somewhere I'd been before. And actually, I just wanted to take a yoga class. So I spoke to the guide and I just said, look, I'll catch you guys for dinner, but I'm just going to, or I may not, but I'm going to go off this afternoon. I'm going to take a yoga class, see my friends at the yoga house, and I'll meet with the group later. So that's just something just to, although that's the disadvantage of group is that you are with everybody all the time, you can dive off and do your own thing as well. And some of these trips are more integrated where you're almost expected to go for dinner every night with everybody, and then others are a bit more flexible and you've got a lot more free time. So look at the finer details. I say look at the details of like how frequently you're moving as well. I've discounted so many trips because they literally are one night here, one night here, one night here, one night here. It's exhausting. I did a bit of that. I did a 38. Well, I bailed early, and that's a whole other story. But I did a 38-day trip across Nepal, India, and then into Bhutan, and was supposed to be going to Bangladesh. And lots of moving, and absolutely exhausting. So just bear that in mind. Also, sharing rooms as well. I am somebody that really does like my own space. I will share with somebody if I know them very well, because I have a certain routine. In the morning, I meditate every morning. I'm not saying that to be showy offy, but that's just part of my morning routine. And it literally is 10 minutes. It's not long, but I need that moment at the start of my day to be grounded and to connect to myself and to my breath. So that can be tricky if you're sharing with somebody. I was on a group trip. We went to Ladakh, and I shared with this lady who literally talked from the moment that she woke up to the moment she went to sleep. I had to put my headphones on at one point. I felt very rude, but I was like, oh my God. And also, we just were not compatible. I was too hot. I wanted the AC on. She was freezing cold. She was a really negative person as well. Bless her, she got lots of issues. And actually, it was making my trip miserable. And I'd not booked single supplement because I thought I couldn't afford it. And I thought, oh no, it'll be okay. I'll share with somebody. And in the end, I spoke to the guide and I managed to negotiate. Actually, In fact, I navigated it with her, and I just said, look, I think we're just not that compatible, particularly around the heat thing in the rooms. We want different things. Let's see if we can get an extra room, as many places as possible that we're staying. Maybe a few nights we'll share, but let's try and get our own rooms. Let's split the cost if we can. She very kindly did that. I paid for a little bit extra, but she paid, a good chunk of that. So there are ways around it. So don't panic if you are roomied with somebody that's not great. But just bear in mind that can be a problem. I think most of the time it's not a problem. I think I was just a little bit unlucky on that particular trip. And also I realised that I need my own space, very much so. So that's group trips. Solo trips. So the advantages, obviously, of solo trips is you have that complete autonomy. If you think, actually, do you know what, I'm going to have a lie-in today. I don't want to be up at 6:30 having breakfast and then out the door by 8:30, which is often the case on a group trip. I might want to do a longer meditation. I might feel like doing a yoga practice. I might just want to sit in bed and read a book. I might, want to go for coffee. I might want to speak to a friend. I might do whatever I want to do. It's on my time. I can go slowly or I can go fast as my schedule allows. And that's such a beautiful thing. I can also go budget or luxury. Actually, one thing I forgot to say is I think that group trips can be more expensive if you've got the time to do it all yourself. And my experience of that is I've just spent 4 weeks, nearly 4 weeks with a friend traveling through Laos, and we did it all ourselves. We booked local guides, local transport, cheap hotels, and guest houses, all directly ourselves, and we saved a shed load of money doing that. So there are, again, financial disadvantages, I think, of the group trip, but it does give you that security and you don't have to plan anything. It takes a long time. If you want to do a really good trip and get the most out of it, to do the planning. I actually love doing the planning, so that doesn't bother me, but for some people that might be all too much. And the thing with solo, you can live to your budget. I'm very much living on a budget. Most of the time I'm in very budget accommodation. Like now in India, I'm in a homestay, it's really cheap. Every now and again, I might think I'll have a slightly nicer hotel or something. But you can do what you want to do. You can be in a nice, if that's your vibe, you go to a 4-5-star hotel. Me, I'm happy to be in pretty basic accommodation as long as I feel safe and it's clean enough and I've got enough spare cash to then go and do the activities that I want to. And also, I think the advantage of being on your own is sometimes you get better cultural experiences with other people. So I found, because I've stayed in homestays and really small hotels or guest houses, I've often had really interesting conversations with the owners or families or other people there, people from the country. Again, just having those real kind of authentic conversations beyond what you see in the tourist literature. So for me, I've really loved that, and I very much have picked, I haven't stayed in any chain hotels. I've picked very small, family run, ideally, kind of places where I have felt a little bit more part of, as much as you can as a foreigner, right? I'm still not, I've been in India now for like nearly 5 months and I'm still not in, I'm still a foreigner, but I have had the opportunity to have some really beautiful conversations with people about what they're feeling and how life is here. So disadvantages of solo travel, I think I probably come across some of these already. The planning time. You do need the planning time. It could potentially feel less safe. Now, whether that's in your head or whether that's a reality, depending on where you are, I think some of it is in our heads as women, but as women, it is something that is a conscious thing of like, how safe am I? I'm arriving in my guest house at midnight. I'm landing at 2 o'clock in the morning. I've got to get a taxi across a city I've never been to before. All of those considerations. And you'll talk about safety in another video. Loneliness is something, again, I'm going to talk about as a separate thing, but it is something that we should acknowledge. Sometimes you are traveling on your own and it can be a bit lonely. And as much as I'm really comfortable in my own company and I'm very happy to go to dinner on my own and take a book, sometimes it is nice to meet people. I'm really quite a sociable person, despite being an introvert, extroverted introvert. I like meeting people. I like having conversations with people. And, if you're away for I did chunks of I had months on my own, that can cause, very insular kind of energy. So that's just something to think about what your energy is. Are you an extrovert? Are you an introvert? How do you feel in groups? How do you feel on your own? Also, on your own, it can be more expensive because you're paying for like a double room. You're paying the same as a couple would pay, but you're paying on your own. Although obviously the group travel as well, that's usually there's quite a hefty single supplement. So maybe that counteracts. So in conclusion, I think group trips are great if you are short of time. I've done lots of them when I was working full time and I had like 4 or 5 weeks off a year. They're perfect for that. When you just want to sort of see the highlights, you want to do it safely, you haven't got the time to plan, you want to have nice people to talk to at dinner. I think they're absolutely brilliant for that. Um, but for me, having now spent this time doing slow, solo travel, that's probably where my heart lies. I would do group trips again if I felt called to, but if I can organise it myself, either with myself or maybe with a friend, like I've just done in Laos, that was really great to have somebody join me for that experience. So, yeah, that's my conclusion. You need to think about what you enjoy, how important it is to you to have things on your time, what you need from a trip. Because whatever way you do it, there's a cost implication and you want to enjoy it and get the most out of it. So, before we conclude, I'm going to share this short meditation which I wrote, which is about creating space for other people's energies. And actually, I wrote this in mind when I was thinking about sharing with the lady that was a little bit tricky in Ladakh. And I would invite you now, if you're driving, please don't do this. If you are able to take a seat somewhere, shut everything else off, be present, which I know we don't do with YouTube. I'm the same. I watch YouTube videos while I'm cooking or doing other things. But for now, if you're not interested in meditation, thank you for joining me. Like, share, subscribe, all the things. Tell me what you'd like me to talk about next. If you want to put a comment in or give me your thoughts on group or solo travel. But if you'd like to share for this meditation, please now give me your full attention. Breathe. Take a moment. I'm going to do that too. And you can do this sitting in a chair or sitting on the floor, whatever you feels right for you. Closing the eyes and just take for a moment a couple of breaths. Being here with me now in this moment. If you're comfortable to close the eyes, closing the eyes can be a really nice way to internalize. So most of us live in communities, whether we live on our own or with a family. We're most likely to be working with not only managing our own energy, but that of those around us. For sensitive people, sometimes the energy of others can be draining and intense. We may need to take a break to come back to our own space, to our own energy, to rebalance. This short meditation is designed to do just that. So firstly, just take a moment here to acknowledge the fact that you've shown up today. You've set aside a few minutes to reconnect to the essence of you. So easy to get caught up in the dramas and stories of other people and others' energies, and we can find ourselves drained and exhausted. But not now. For our short time together today, this is about you and about your energy. Put aside, if you can, thoughts of others, even your dearest loved ones. They will be okay for a short while you focus on you. It's not selfish, it's showing up for yourself with self-care and self-love. So just coming back to the breath for a moment, the gentle inhale and exhale through the nostrils. Just notice how you're feeling right now. Can you check in with yourself? Are you frustrated, angry, calm, fed up, drained, excited? Whatever you feel it. There's no wrong or right answer here. We're going to take 3 breaths together. We're going to inhale through the nose and we're going to exhale out the mouth. And as you exhale, I want you to let go of any energies you're carrying with you from those around you. It's time to reset and let go. So taking an inhale through the nose and exhale. Maybe as loud as you like. Inhale through the nose and exhale. Inhale through the nose and exhale. Just take a moment to acknowledge how you feel now. Maybe even that short breath practice is starting to make a difference to your energy. We're just going to sit now for a moment in silence, focusing on the breath. Just acknowledge what comes up for you. We're not trying to stop thinking, but as we notice our attention has moved away from the breath, just come back to the gentle inhale and exhale through the nostrils. Now just deepen the breath. And take the breath now from the crown of the head to the toes on the exhale. From the inhale, take the breath from the toes to the crown of the head. Feel and believe that you're bringing your healing breath and energy to your whole body. So inhaling, take the breath from the toes to the crown of the head. Exhaling, crown of the head to the toes. Like to envisage a light, you could do that here as well, whether it's a white light, yellow light, or whatever color appeals to you right now. Feel that breath moving from the toes to the crown of the head. This is your energy. Control your energy. You can keep boundaries between yourself and others by just taking time to do these short practices. Remembering you can come back to this anytime you need an energy reset, anytime you need to practice self-compassion and create boundaries between you and other people. Just take 3 more inhales together with the exhale out through the mouth, just to conclude this practice. Take an inhale through the nose. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Slowly bring awareness back to the body. Notice where you're sitting. Feel the feet on the floor, sit bones on the seat or the bed or the floor. Slowly and gently start to externalize your experience, opening the eyes when you're ready. And thank you for joining me. Thank you for staying to the end of the video. Really appreciate your support, and I hope you found that helpful. And as I said, please leave any comments below. I'd love to hear from you, and I will see you next time on another video. Take care.